I want to shift towards like understanding the mindset of the mainstream pediatricians. There's clearly a lot of scientific literature about vaccine injury. Larry, you spoke about many of them. I'm curious as to, despite all of that, why do mainstream pediatricians not accept vaccine injury? Is it truly an ideology? Is it a fact that they're not trained in it? Is it financial incentives like Dr. Mumper talked about? Or is there other institutional pressures that they're under? Like, why is it so hard for them to say this exists?
I think it's all of those for sure. I mean, there's certainly some institutional pressures for the doctors that work in institutions, and it's a religion to some degree, right? I mean, I think we have to remember that most doctors don't go look at the primary literature themselves. I'm certainly a victim of that. I mean, I can be honest about that now. I had no idea. I didn't look at the literature. I was just trained in residency, like, here are your vaccines. Here were the horrible diseases 100 years ago. We don't really have most of those anymore. Wonderful vaccines. Here's your schedule. Go do it. I think a lot of people in medicine are very trusting. I mean, I think you're an individual who goes into it to help others, and you don't necessarily have the time to read everything or think about everything yourself. And so you believe the institutions, the CDC, whatever you're told, and you go do that, and you never really look it up yourself. And when you do hear about those individuals that are talking about issues, they're called anti-vaxxers and quacks, and then you just dismiss it. And you never really see any of that other research. And until I looked at it myself, I had no idea. And the more that I was asked questions, the more that I looked into it, the more that I realized there are so many questions that are unanswered. There's so many things that we don't understand, and there's so many things that don't make sense. Like, for example, you're talking about brain injury, and we know that vaccines in the published literature, in mainstream, not woo-woo out there, can cause seizures. It can cause encephalitis and encephalopathy. But causing an injury that leads to autism isn't possible. You said there's no mechanism. That doesn't make any sense. Like, why couldn't you have an injury in the brain? That's certainly possible. It's certainly plausible. And it's ridiculous that you wouldn't be able to ask that question or have that discussion with those around you. I mean, that's what science is supposed to be. If it turns out that vaccines are causing certain issues, doctors would want to know that, but they're not even having those conversations. And so there's a pressure from all different areas, I'm sure, from pharma, from the financial incentives of it, from their peers, from if you want to publish a study on it, you get ostracized. And we've seen it happen over and over again. And thankfully, Dell got that study out there with the Henry Ford study, because it was the first time, I think, that most people who watched that film really got to see what happens behind the scenes. I mean, you can see what Henry Ford and other places say, oh, you know, the data's just no good. But you can literally hear from the author's mouth, someone who's very pro-vaccine, that they didn't want to publish this study because they were afraid. And I think that's what's happened over and over again in the vaccine literature. And so we only have one side of the data. We don't have the other side. And then even when you do get a study that looks at vaccinated versus unvaccinated individuals, it's generally people who are deemed automatically as an anti-vaxxer, and then that's thrown out. So you don't ever get to see that. Like, you guys at the McCullough Foundation put together an amazing report, but I guarantee you that 98% of doctors never saw it. And even if they did, they'd say, oh, Peter McCullough, he's an anti-vaxxer. You know, who cares, right? And so that is what this situation is up against right now. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to get a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, the Lancet, systematic review. I mean, there's no way that most doctors would look at the vaccine and autism research and say the science is settled if they actually looked at it. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't think there's any pediatrician that went into practice to harm children. And so I'm going to say the opposite. I think every pediatrician goes into pediatrics because the pediatricians love children and really want to take care of them and help them. So can you imagine what it would be like if pediatricians woke up and said, holy cow, what have I done? Can you imagine? And so I think that's the scale that we're looking at when you ask the question, what's it going to take? Because it is unfathomable for the pediatric population, the pediatricians, to even consider that they've been complicit in any way, shape, or form.
It is such a deeply ingrained thing for pediatricians to know that they're helping kids. And I agree. I think they go into it because they love kids. They don't go into it for the money, because we're among the poorest paid docs around. So I also think that we need to reach out with compassion. And as frustrated and angry as I get with the American Academy of Pediatrics at times, they have a lot of young, idealistic doctors going there. I saw them a couple years ago when I went to the convention, who truly think that what they're learning is going to help their patients. So it is going to be one of the top life stressors, right up there with death of a spouse and, other really crucial human experiences, to realize that you may have hurt more kids than you helped. Denial is a powerful defense mechanism, and we all need some kind of defense mechanisms to cope with the world that we live in.